Good evening, folks. Welcome to the discussion. This is episode 261, and we are getting off tonight with the KI theme, part 4. So, folks, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button, and we're just going to get started. But I just wanted to explain the whole goal of this theme episode. And one is to bring more exposure to KI as a whole for those perhaps maybe don't know about it or just know the name, but really not what constitutes KI and who are the leading figures, so to speak. Secondly, I also believe I want students to really see, and others enthusiasts to see, that no one leading sanction should be governing KI. All sanctions have something to offer. It behooves of the student actually to train as many KI instructors as humanly possible. For what? To further the journey, their understanding. And that's kind of the approach I've taken by thus far doing 3 episodes of this. I can actually tell you that I've learned quite a bit from talking to these gentlemen. I consider myself the least senior rookie with all these guys. So I'm taking all what they say in. And that's the goal here. You know what I mean? Like, you should, as much as humanly possible, train with many as you can. I hope that one day train with every single person that I've had on this episode or shows. Why? I want to be the best version of myself. I don't. So hopefully we're going to break that mentality. And lastly, hopefully there'd be some sense of unity and collaboration where people can start working together. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if a couple different KI instructors did seminars together? I mean, imagine that, how good that would be for the students. So that's our approach from this. I hope you guys see it that way. And guests tonight are Guru Dax Williams and Maestro Floro, and I'm going to be bringing them up now. Hey, welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Ian, good to see you.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for the
invitation. Oh my gosh, absolutely. So, folks, again, this is going to be more theme-oriented. However, these gentlemen have been on before. So for episode 211, Maestro Ray was on. It was a quite entertaining episode. I highly recommend you watch that. And Guru Dax has also been on before, which also was entertaining. I think he advocated to me that I need to see a psychologist for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
I hope you're medicated now. You know, it's been a while.
That is episode 126 and 130. So you might want to check that out. So again, we're going to jump in. We got people already jumping in. We got Robert Small. Hey there, Robert. We got Terry Jovan from Stockton, Jean Bray from Canada. And we got Man who's just on yesterday. All right, folks. Yes, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. We're just getting started. So, you know, when I do the test runs, I kind of get a feel of like what direction to go, because I didn't want to replicate every episode I had and just be kind of redundant, reiterating all that. And so I kind of get a feel for where you guys are at, you know, where your passion's coming out, you know, what resonates with you guys and all that. And so what I want to know is, obviously people know your guys' background and what have you, but, you know, you guys touched upon, when we were in the test run there, how the principles should trump like techniques and all that. And I want you guys, if you could each speak on that and the significance over the technique and all that. So Guru Dax, you want to start, and then we'll give obviously Maestro Ray a crack at it.
Yeah. You know, I think one of the consistent points of contention within KI, not to get too far into that right now, is techniques and linguistics surrounding them. But it's the Illustrissimo system from where I stand is a very, very, very rudimentary system. Yep. In that it's rudimentary in that the techniques within it shouldn't be expanded to be this endless list of, you know, Sinawali patterns that are a dozen points and up, with this long list of techniques. Illustrissimo is very, very fundamental, very, very rudimentary in that regard. But the strength of that is that within Illustrissimo, there's principles regarding particularly timing and rhythm and range that what you don't need to waste your time on, with this huge breadth of technique is where you need to be spending your time on the principles of timing, rhythm, and range. And if that's not something that your instructor can just hand to you either, the way that an instructor can hand you techniques. But as far as marketing goes, as far as being the guy or one of the, we have that, these are techniques that we all do. It's like, if that's what we're focused on, then I don't think we're pointing in the right direction. It's like, like cricket and baseball, they look kind of the same, but there's some real different shit, and they're two completely different animals when you really understand it,
No, well said. Thank you. And Maestro Ray, anything you'd like to add to what Guru Dax was saying?
Yeah, look, rudimentary is everything. Distance and timing is the secret. When I teach, I like having a core base technique. I don't care about the terminology, but when you look at Grandmaster Illustrissimo, everything is up and down. Everything's up and down. Well, it has the perception of being up and down. So that's where I start all my guys. So the first technique is just like this. And the thing is, though, the Illustrissimo is very simple, but it's very subtle. If you can't get the subtleties of it, you'll miss the gist of it. Even on guard, you see my guard is, my hand is back. See, a lot of people go on guard, their hand's too far out. If your hand's too far out, it's going to get hit. Again, distance and timing. And if the guy's fast with a non-telegraphic strike, there's no way where you can pull that back fast enough that you're going to avoid a hand cut.
Right.
So what we do is we start off here. And if you look at Tatang, even though his hands are loose, it's not loose out here. It's loose close to his body.
Right.
And goes up and down. So basically that is the fundamental. And the basic technique for me is like the punch. So it's punch. It's not that. It's punching. You look at the elbow, it comes right back. A lot of people, when they talk about when they do their strikes, they'll stop the elbow where the body is. But there's that much more that you can pull back. So, and if you look at Tatang, his elbows go right back, which means your hands aren't in target. So that's the fundamental rudimentary technique that I start off with. Now, from that technique, all the variations of the angles come out, you see. See, I don't do this type of stuff. Everything comes from straight up and down, vertical. And if I want an angle 1, notice I just turn like this. There's that angle 1. There's angle 2, angle 3, angle 4. Notice that I'm just doing that, you see. That's what I mean where everything's sort of simple in that all you're doing is karate punching. That's what I call it, karate punching. And you get the angles whether you're this, or this, rather than this. So to me, that's one of the rudimentaries that kind of makes Illustrissimo different from the others.
And it's little things like that, I think, that really, and they make or break the game. It's like when you see guys that are gonna start throwing, but they start from this position back here or something, like even where your weapon pointed backwards, right? Illustrissimo, if you watch any of the videos, and again, like I didn't know the guy, so I'm just extrapolating from like third party stuff, but he didn't start here. He always started here, right? Yes. And I mean, when you think about economy of motion, if your opponent is here in front of you and you start back here, you become 50% more efficient by changing your posture to be upright. So if your posture is upright, you have to go half as far. And this is also the hardest part, getting it up, not out.
And it telegraphs. It already telegraphs.
Right. And that's the thing, when you hear these accounts of Tatang, he was completely non-telegraphic. He was this and that. It's like, well, but so much of that had to do with the basic principle of how he did things. And even if he didn't explain it that way, he is so consistent.
He doesn't explain anything.
Well, and I think and I think that's really important to remember too, because as we go into the differences and the different instructors and the different factions and all of this stuff, Tatang didn't explain shit to anybody, right? And like he didn't give a fuck about what anybody thought about him either. So he's like, if you want to learn it, I guess figure it out. But I mean, at the same time, he's not going to sit there and provide you with this.
And
this
that's how we learn. Like,
So
we
learn
at
by
my
studying
grandmother's
diet
place,
and getting hit.
you know, one person would be feeding Tata. Yeah, look, one person would be feeding Tatang, and Tatang would do his moves, and the other masters are there
Filming.
We're discussing. They're discussing is,
Right.
did he do that? Did he do that? Did he do that? See, one of the subtleties, and I was talking to Master Yuli Rama the other day, and this is what Master Rami showed me as well. Like this wide swing, people think, oh yeah, I start off here, then I go like that. It's not that. It's I punch out, then I turn my body.
Right.
See, look at the arm. The arm looks like it's doing that.
But
the arm is actually just doing this. What gives it the illusion of that is I'm doing that with my body. So
right, you're rotating your hips.
More range.
The arm never passes center line. It doesn't do that.
And again,
the hand stops there. The body does the rest.
And if you look at Master Ray's hand there, right? You look at how he's doing it. His hand doesn't come across the center line like this either. It comes across, and
Correct.
then his right hand belongs on the right side of his body, even though from where you're sitting, it might look like it's on the opposite side. When I turn to look at you,
correct,
it's not, right? Which keeps me efficient, and the musculature is working the way it's supposed to. If I'm all the way over here, like I'm relying like on gravity and all sorts of weird shit. It's not how the human body's built to move, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, it's something, and again, it all parallels what both of you said,
Correct.
just in different choice of words. But David Gould, somebody who's just, I have so much profound respect for, and he says, like, everybody's got 12
Mr. Lameko.
Yeah. And he's like, you bring this 12 inches over, you were in violation of center. That doesn't mean the person across from you is going to take advantage of it. However, though, the moment this goes past chin, violation, major violation.
And
correct.
And I mean, there's so much stuff that correlates to this because, again, like if your weapon, when you're swinging, say just a simple one, right? If you look at my side profile, say we're going to say this line, this windowsill here is my line, right? If I swing my one like this, the moment it leaves this profile, this is way
you're right.
Right. Like Master Ray's doing, it needs to come in and downward and come to a backhand position. But again, going back, that backhand position is still a forehand position when you look straight on.
Correct.
Right?
So you see from there, it looks like a backhand, but
my musculature.
It's still center line. See?
Right.
What happens is my stick crosses center line, but my hand doesn't. See? Here's the forehand. See, the backhand does this. See? I'm doing the body twists.
Yeah.
See?
And that's
it
and
looks
I mean,
like this, but it's really the body twists.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can weave this way, you can weave that way as well. See?
Yeah. And I think like little things like that. I mean, I say little things, but they're not little things. That's like I said. I mean, that's particularly when you talk about things like bladed combat. I mean, bladed combat is little more than a race to the midline, right? Yeah. If you swing a one and I'm targeting your hand, I don't need to hit you. I just need to beat you there, and your hand will make contact, right? Because we're intersecting with one another at different angles, right?
Correct.
We're not running parallel to each other. Right.
Yes. No, well said from both of you. I totally agree. It's like one was always instilled to me not to beat them in the ground. Difficult. Let them do 3/4 of work. You do the last quarter.
Right. And I mean, using that kind of mentality, that's how you stay efficient, right? And that's how you don't get tired in a fight. Like, if you want to cut down like adrenalization and like the effects of slowing down with adrenalization, you let them do the work and you just show up, right? Like in a fight, I totally want to be that guy in the group class that shows up for the A and does like nothing in between. That's who I am as a human. Okay, fighting is so different.
It's very rare you see Tatang block. He hardly blocks. When you strike, he'll strike at the same time. But because of the body angling, because of the footwork, he doesn't need to block.
Right.
Because it's kind of like a simultaneous strike. But what he does is his swords will get there, then his sword will evade. So his sword goes out. See, if we both cut this way, we're going to get hit. But you'll find he'll cut here, then he'll do there. As you come down, the invisible hand, his hand goes out of the way.
And it's almost like he
cut.
carries you to the position he needs you to be in for a safe counterattack.
Exactly right.
It's not just a counterattack. He does it like he dictates your position because you're so busy swinging and attacking, right? And he moves
that's
you
a
or
good
like
point. Yeah, because I was asked, what was Titan like? Was he aggressive? Was he defensive? Was he a good counterattacker? He really wasn't any one of those. He sets you up.
Yeah.
He will make you think something, and you'll either react with a defense, or you'll react with a strike. But your reactions, he already knows where he wants to go because he already knows what block you're going to do. He already knows what angle you're going to strike with, and he'll just kind of go with it, and you get hit.
Yeah.
Just you touched upon both of you.
He sets you up, which is really
the whole thing of the Ganyo. I mean, the thing I wanted to here's the thing though, which I was going to ask a little down the line, but I'm going to throw it in now. It makes sense. The whole thing I've heard from numerous people. He hated weapon contact, the clink. But then why is there so much? And I'm not saying all the sanctions. That's not fair. Because I don't know what all the sanctions do. But why is there seen to be such emphasis on defensive movements if he didn't like sword contact?
That's easy. That's easy to answer, because when you learn from him, he just kind of stands there, and he doesn't say or do anything, and that's what happened the first time I met him. Tony says, "Yeah, you go out, you partner off with Tata." So I'm standing there, and he's standing there, and they're just looking at each other. And then Trooper says, "You got a theme? Oh, you have something. You got a theme? Oh, all right, okay. So what if I do this? What if I do this?" See, that's the thing. Because of the way he taught, he'll just stand there, and you'll have to fit. Hence why it's all blocks, because you'll have to feed him. He doesn't initiate.
Right.
However, when he fights, totally different. He will set you up. He looks aggressive, but he already knows what you're doing, you see.
Yeah. So then, Guru Dax, why the emphasis then on the defensive move? I understand middle range, when your feet fail you, you're going to have to deflect and block. I get it.
Right.
But why so much emphasis there?
I think part of it has to do with, the emphasis is what's sold, right? The defense is what is sold. No, Tatang didn't have to sell shit to anybody, right? But when you have a class full of people that when you're drilling, somebody has to be winner, somebody has to be loser. But at the same time, if you don't set them up for defense, and this is the first part of it, if you don't set them up for defense, at the very, very primary stages of learning, people are going to question a lot of what you're teaching, right? And they won't even get a chance to get into the deep water. The other side of it is, I'm not saying that a person shouldn't block. I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning with the fundamental principles and how rudimentary the real proper illustration system is. Until you develop that range and that timing and that rhythm, right, and the ability to read those things, you have to be able to block.
Yeah.
Because if you can't block, and the thing is, you have to always keep in your mind, I need to move away from this. My training needs to move me away from this.
Right.
So you are, and blocking is a bad habit.
I think it is, because you're presenting hand.
Right, but it's a bad habit in that that's not your end goal, but it's part of your evolution, right? And if you understand that, you develop that spatial awareness through blocking. Not that you're always going to block, but that you can't develop spatial awareness at speed on a weapon if you just stand there and hope for the best, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm go a step further than both
when
of you
I teach my guys, I always tell them blocking is when you miscalculate distance.
Right, your feet failed you. You couldn't get back.
But if you notice, when we block, it's all up close. So that if you evade but you miscalculate by a few inches, at least the block is there. We never engage a block like that.
No.
We're always pulling back our blocks.
And that's what I tell my students as well, is that, like, I'll typically break down, like, generally about 3 things that you're doing in any specific movement, right? So it'll be footwork, weapon hand, live hand, right? And the idea being, in the gym, you're going to get 3. In real life, you're going to get one unless you've trained properly. Then you're going to get two, right? And one of them's going to fuck up. And when one of them fucks up, if you're okay. You might be okay with one. You're safer with two, and you're good with three, right? And when you get to the point that you can apply all three of those simultaneous actions, you know you're good. You're solid, right? You're at a place where you are now actually developing that timing, that range, all of that really important illustrissimo principle.
I got what you guys are saying. I'm going to add something though. I think why block, and again, I totally get what you guys are saying about blocking. Your feet failed you, you misjudged the distance, you have to do something, absolutely. And I definitely believe if you pronounce your blocks or you sell them early, you're basically giving hand targeting or hand hunting practice to the other person, depending on their skill set. However, though, I think it's easier to teach. In other words, I think in a larger format, it's easier to teach blocking.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I was saying.
Distance and timing isn't in play yet. No. Proper evasion, you need distance and timing. That's really hard to practice. Whereas blocking, really, it doesn't matter what your distance is. You can make the block work.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah. But it's I think that it's easier to teach, and that goes into the whole marketing thing, right? At the foundational levels, you're going to start losing students immediately if you're not providing a viable defense on day 2, day 3, right?
No, I forget. Like, think about this, Guru Dex. If you can't, let's just say I went with this mindset, and I'm not saying it's wrong. Okay, man, I'm gonna give them blocking, but I'm gonna really tell them to work finding the gaps, praction, and all that. It would be so much harder to relay information, which you guys just mentioned. But now, hey, I'm going to give him Australia. Right. I'm going to give him Sombra. I'm going to give him Puma. I'm going to give him Friday.
And like Estrella is like the first. I will teach Estrella as like at foundation levels. But the thing is that Estrella is going to give you the positional familiarization that they are then comfortable getting in to those ranges and working. And at that point, because the thing is, you can't actually explain praction. You can't really explain.
Exactly.
Right. You have to let them get there and then discuss with them what that is they're seeing. Right. It's like if you look at a black hole, you're not going to be like, oh, that's obviously a huge mass of gravity. You're going to be like, look at that black hole, right? Like you can't just divine what it is that you're experiencing in that moment. You need somebody who's maybe a little bit more in the game than you to help.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying. Like you have to have it. Like I'm not saying it should be discouraged.
Oh, you have to have
it should be like looked at it last. But I definitely hear you guys saying it's so more difficult to teach the other tactics. Where I think some guys, like I look at some of the groups that they do, it's very formatted, and you see them going through all this blocking, and I get why. I'm not saying it's wrong. Like I don't want. I hope the audience. I don't want to get that misconstrued. I'm not saying that. I just think it's easier, and to keep a student base if that's introduced more heavily. I guess is what I'm alluding to.
Yeah. And so, again, I mean, it's a part of the evolution, right? Like you got to walk before you run.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, okay. Okay. As far as like from the lens of, because you guys obviously both teach and you have for a long time, what does a student need or should have as far as KI essentials, regardless of like what rank and all that, if they even want rank and all that? Part 1. Part 2. Can a student who really zones in on tactics, could they become somewhat, I don't want to say immediately functional, but somewhat immediately functional under the right guidelines? So first question, what should a student have as far as essentials? Let's tackle that. So Guru Ray, what do they need as far as essentials? Or what, in your opinion, what should they have?
Look, I tell my guys, I can get them to a level of fighting level effectively. All they need to do is turn up, okay? I don't care how uncoordinated you are, how challenged you are, I will get you there. So the first thing is you got to turn up. So I guess dedication. But another thing is just simplicity. It's you need to see I've got the advantage of the luxury of teaching one-on-one. So I can really tailor stuff to the students. Teaching class, I've tried that. It's hopeless. I just go do it. So I basically, I literally, your first day with me, I say, put a helmet on, let's spar. Doesn't matter who you are. And then I'll tell them, try to hit me. I won't hit you. Just try to. So I see what foot they've got forward. I see what hand they hit. I see if their guards like that hard. And from there, I just start tweaking it. You see, I start tweaking it. So if they like to do that, well, I just raise it there. But this motion, everyone can do this motion. All right, everyone can do that motion, and that is the base that I teach. From there, everything else comes. Whether they like long range, whether they like to come in, whether they like their right foot forward, left foot forward, whether they like their guards low or that. So I just see what the way they move instinctively, and I kind of tweak them. That's how I work anyway.
No. Guru Dax, like far as the first part of the question.
I've got a template. I've got a template in my head in that, okay, this is first. Then from there, we do the angles. Okay. And yes, I teach blocking right at the start. I teach blocking straight away, but my blocking is different. I don't do Australia. I don't do sombrada. So my blocking is like this. You notice that the hand's there and the sword is angled. So if the shot comes in, you pat it down with the flat blade. Remember, bladed weapons, we pat flat there. If it comes there, then you raise it there. If it comes here, you turn the body there. So basically this one guard posture, if I turn here, I've got the Australia. If I raise it a bit, I've got sombrada. If I go here, I've got Australia. So that's not hard to do. Okay.
No.
Anybody can do this. And what I do is rather than say, okay, extend the arm, I don't do that. I say, for sombrada, rather than do that, I say, okay, duck your head under. See? From here, if it comes here, go here. If it comes over the other side, go there. So basically, you're trying to hold it still, and you're kind of hiding behind
I got you.
the weapon.
Okay.
And now if I take that off, this is what you're going to be doing as well, see? So it's not just pure arm action. It's like trying to get them to stand still and move around there. And from there, parry vertical. From there, parry vertical. So there, strike vertical. Sorry. There. And that's basically the first lesson.
Okay. No. Wow. Guru Dax.
And then we spar. And then we literally spar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guru Dax, same first question. Like, far as what you perceive are important as far as essentials for the student.
From the very beginning, I think be really, really basic with your footwork, right? Like we're going to start with like 2 or 3 things. It's not so much dependent on what you normally do, but I do try to really correlate how you move day to day with the footwork that I want you to do. And then from there, we're going to move on to, you have your basic stuff, your striking angles and whatever. Very similar actually to the way Master Ray teaches. I'll start off, I do call it Estrella, right? And again, like so actually before we even get to that, posture, because I find bad habits are the hardest thing to break. It's harder to unlearn a shit habit than it is to learn any technique.
Yeah.
So little things like what we talked about at the beginning in regards to posture and positioning, right? So we'll go through the 12 angles, right? And I will illustrate, and if possible, if I have a mirror, then I'll tape off a rectangle, basically the size, like as tall as they are, right?
Yeah.
And as wide, just about 2 inches outside their shoulders, top to bottom. And I want them to swing, and that in that reflection, I don't want their hand to ever leave that, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, and that'll cut down excessive motion as we go into repetition. Because, if strike number 1 is the first thing that you train, you're going to train strike number 1 1,000 times by the end of the week, kind of thing. So little things like that, pertaining to not collecting this whole basket of bad habits as you go is really, really important. From there, we'll, do retiradas where we're having striking combinations. So we'll talk about common, accessible striking combinations. So we start with 2-strike combinations and then moving on to Estrella. So striking combinations together with the basic footwork that you learn, and then how Estrella works, because I want you starting at long range, right? And because long range with a weapon is so far outside of what most people like intuitively consider fighting range to be, right? It's really, really important to talk about that and get them used to working at long range. Because like if you're striking combinations and you're using like retirada footwork at the beginning, you're probably better off at long range. Like you're going to be safer at long range, right? Comparatively. And then we would move into Estrella, where similarly to you, Master Raymond, where I'll have you from this first position and Estrella's here, right? Estrella against the backhand is going to be here. Estrella against the forehand is going to be inside Estrella. Against a low forehand is going to be low Estrella. Against a backhand will be inverted Estrella, right? Okay. Lower, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm sitting. So, and that stuff, we can work on that, because so much of it is developing the patterns of movement without collecting a load of bad habits, right? I don't start with sparring. I don't start with sparring at the beginning, as far as like full contact and full speed. What I like students to do is we'll scale our speed, right? Because part of it being understanding, and the biggest thing, in my opinion, at that point is learning the difference between a padded weapon and a stick.
Yeah.
Because it's a completely different ballgame, right? So the thing is, I want you to swing randomly at your partner, but I want you to swing at 10%. So that way they start to develop their eyes, right? What do strikes look like when they're coming at me? And because, under adrenalization, your body won't, if you move slowly in training, you're not going to move slowly in real life. Like that's not the way the brain works. The brain will start to tire super fast. So you don't need to worry about, I'm going to obviously going to fight.
Like I'm going slow. They're going to go slow in the street. No.
Right. It doesn't work. But the thing is, if you train slow while you're developing your eyes, and that's what you're really developing, your eyes and your sense of, again, that proprioception, that sense of yourself in space and what attacks look like as they come into you. That's what I want you to develop. And that's why we need to do with sticks, because things like blocks they'll have a higher rate of failure on a padded stick because of curving and material and all of these safety concerns. So we remove the safety gear and increase safety performance, right? So that your brain, you can really start to understand the difference. And I mean, obviously I have no problem with sparring, right? Love it.
No. Yeah.
But again, people will start to dummy with sparring gear things that otherwise wouldn't be accessible to them, right? And I want them to be aware of that from the very beginning, so they don't develop those bad habits. Because there's nothing worse to me than having to unlearn a bad habit.
No, undo it. Yeah.
That I've told them, don't fucking do that, right? Like, God damn it!
Bad habits are one of the things that's hardest to change.
Absolutely.
I have a few things. That thing with the mirror, fantastic. When I was with the Tatang, he said stand under a door frame, which is the same thing. So
same thing.
You've got the door frame here, so you can't do these things. So all your strikes has to be that.
Everything's gonna be tight.
I've got guys who start off with their elbows out there, so I get something, some little thing, and I put it under their armpits.
Yeah.
You see, so now they strike. See how I'm striking? The moment they raise their armpit, then the thing drops out. And in fact, sometimes I get my guys to spar with stuff under their armpits, and they're kind of sparring like little T-Rexes.
Right.
But it teaches them to keep everything nice and tight, even with the blocking. You notice I do a roof block, but I don't do that. See, everything. I tell them every time your elbow's there, I'm going to hit your elbow. So those are the little things. And another bad habit they do is they move their front foot first. Like from there, they tend to do that.
Yeah.
See, so what I used to do, I put a kick shield, a Muay Thai pad on their front foot, so they stop doing that. Because the moment you move your front foot, you've telegraphed.
Right. Okay. And that's another one of the, because that footwork, same thing. But what I explain is I will say, when you move forward, you push with your back foot, right? You push off your back foot. You don't step with your front foot, right? Yeah. Same as when you move backwards, you don't step with your back foot and follow the front foot. You always need to be pushing when you move, right? If you move to the right, you push with your left. Move to the left, you push with your right. And that will that'll kind of start to pare away at that instinct to step and pull, right?
No. Okay. Well done. Yeah, both of you. James, I'm going to get to your question right after I ask this one. Second part of the question. Under the right guidance and assume and you've already touched upon this, Maestro Ray. So Guro Dax, and then we're definitely going to get to you, Maestro Ray. Can a student, whether, previous background or they just get tactics or what have you, you see it takes years to master this and that. And I believe that in the lens of refinement. However, I don't believe that.
Sorry, Dean, my reception, I'm not hearing you properly. I'm getting a crackling sound. Could you say that again? Sorry, the reception is not good.
Can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you okay now, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so what I was saying was, like, the question I'm going to be asking you guys is about immediate or somewhat immediate functionality. In other words, I think refinement is endless. Like, I want to refine.
Yeah.
I think, and I agree with you. However, though, you need years. Like, I think somebody can become somewhat decently functional in a short amount of time under the right guidance. Am I wrong? And if I am, where am I going wrong? Guro Dax.
No,
I'm correct.
I think that when we start again, this goes back to the whole, again, to the beginning of the conversation, because I want you to learn the very, very fundamentals, again, striking angles, very, very fundamental striking combinations, and a little bit of footwork, nothing crazy, right? Like 2 or 3 distinct footwork. The thing is, when you practice those, that'll give you the base functionality. And again, I'm gonna throw this out there, and I think a lot of people are gonna hate me for it. That's where a lot of Illustrissimo players stay, because they're not concerned about they're not concerned, but the development of timing, rhythm, and distance, and like ranging, isn't at the forefront. And I think a lot of Illustrissimo players will stay at that level, but in that, I'm not saying they're not functional. But I think they're incredibly functional at that point. I just think that they are not incredibly functional against another high-level player.
I wouldn't disagree with you, and it's funny you mentioned that as far as what certain sanctions really push and all that, and you can tell by like their training videos. But that's that could be a whole episode, I guess, in itself.
Yeah.
So, Maestro Ray, same thing. Like, so. Again, I think longevity, I equate longevity refinement, you know what I mean? Like, and all that. However, though, I don't think like there's like, you need 10 years before you could come like really functional. I think that's a load of crap.
No, give me 1 week with you. Look, to me, I don't care what the technique looks like. All right, because some of my students are really challenged. But I don't care. I go for results. Okay, so I have one guy who's been with me for decades, and he cannot get the finer points of the Illustrissimo. I don't care about that. But he's one of my best fighters. He will take on anyone and win. And his technique is, I call it rabbit ears. Okay, I say that because he can't stand like this. For some reason, he'll stand like that, then he'll always do that. It's like frustration. Okay. Go rabbit ears, at least now. And his sole technique is this. Just that. Just that.
Yeah.
But he uses it so well that his command of distance his command of timing is perfect with this one technique. He even hits me. It's freaking frustrating.
I had a guy very, very similar to that, or have one of the guys that I've been training with for a very long time. And he started off and he was very apprehensive. And so he kept his stick really quite high like this. And he never extended into anybody else. And he would just wait for attacks to come because he was apprehensive. And he is so hugely successful in sparring because through his initial apprehension, he's developed this fantastic technique of waiting and like his ability to like, that's not going to hit me. And it's like, he's like, fine, I'm good. Whack! Right? What the fuck, man? And as he gets older,
looking at this thing coming at you.
Yeah.
You're looking at you.
But his eyes at this point, he is able to tell, is that going to hit him or not? And it'll, like I said, it'll miss him by this far. And he's like, meh, miss by an inch, miss by a mile.
So,
and he comes at you, right?
The quintessential una pagata?
Yeah, it's perfect. But I mean, like, why do you need more than that? I mean, let's look at most scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly, like he's been with me for decades, and he's now learned how to do this. It's even more dangerous because it's more angles.
Look, man. I mean, he's improved. He's increased his overall by about 200% with those other two techniques.
Jeez, wow.
And to me, you know what? That's good enough. Look, they come here to pay money. And so one of my guys said, okay, I accredit them as an instructor. And they said, okay, what is your objective in every lesson? And they're thinking, okay, you want them to. I just say, look, make them forget about their life for an hour. That's their objective. If they learn how to defend themselves, that's a bonus. So,
okay.
Yeah,
no, well, you guys.
It's not life and death, you know, it's less life
you guys,
and death.
My opinion, both answers yes. I have a question here, though, from James before I get too far. Okay, so James' question is, so we'll Guro Dax, take a crack at it first. Do you find it easier to teach KI to someone with no experience versus someone with prior FMA experience from a different style?
Okay, so easier in that I do find it easier because you speak somewhat of a common language at that point, right? Mm-hmm. So people will progress more quickly if they have a very fundamental knowledge of how the movement works, the angles, even if those things are different within KI than what they'd previously trained. Now, the other thing is scaling the expectation of what you want from that player. Do you want that, like, or more what they want for themselves, right? I can't expect somebody to be all KI after they've done Balintuak for years, after they've done Pakiti Tersha for years, anything to that effect. Mm-hmm. It'll be one of those things where like it'll add some tools to the old toolbox, but they're going to be how they're going to be. And they've likely, if they've trained for any length of time, developed their own personal style. And this will just be added to like I said, to that toolbox. So I think the kind of later results will be different. If I have a green student here, and if I have somebody that comes in with a fundamental knowledge of FMA here, as they progress, this guy will likely look something like his mother system. Right, where this guy will look more like me, or more like Tom, more like, you know, some of the other guys that I try to push the emulation of when we train.
No, all right, thank you, Maestro Ray. Same question.
I prefer clean slate. I prefer no experience for the sole purpose that Guro Dax said, no bad habits.
Yeah.
See, a lot of times when they're from a different system, I'm constantly fighting. Changing the bad habits. It's not bad habits. It's just that what they do is the way they do it.
It's not what you're teaching, right? It's not a bad habit. It's just not what you're teaching.
Yeah. Well, bad habits in that they create an opening. So for example, if they're so used to standing like this, I'm going to hit that all the time. And you know, and the thing is, or people who do hand sparring all the time. See. Hand sparring, they get bad, and then after a while with hand sparring, they do this a lot because all they're thinking about is the hand. They're doing this a lot, right. But you do that in sparring, hit you there. So they're opening themselves, or their elbows are open, or you know, I have this guy who's an instructor in Krav Maga. every time we spar, he just charges in, and 100%, and he charges, and he hits my point all the time. So, meaning that's what they're taught. So it's not their fault, and it works for them.
But you're right. You're right. Those habits. I mean, I guess you saying that brings me back to one of those initial the postural things, because illustrissimo, the posture that we use is consistently this. It's not here. It's not point back. It's point 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Like, it's just a little forward, right? Where if most other systems, either their weapon will be down around their waist somewhere, or they're back here.
Oh, they're like PTK,
right?
Shoulder load.
Yeah, Pakita shoulder load. Trying to unlearn that, oh my God.
No.
You know, and it's, and it gives you a really, really
it's
good
that
strength
an experienced person will have foundation, but you're fighting bad habits all the time.
No. And you guys, you just brought up a good point too about, which I'm going to segue into in a bit. But before I do, like, as far as the sparring aspect, like, it's almost, you can tell who, like you mentioned, who does a lot of hand-leg sparring. Because the moment I see that head coming forward, like, like, man, they would never do that if the whole body was involved. But so you can tell when they're trying to get that extra reach, and they're, you know what I mean?
But this goes back to what I was saying about scaling your speed, not your tools when you're sparring. Right. Yeah. So if I want you sparring from the beginning, because the thing is, like, hand spar, we're not going to hand spar. We're just going to spar at a lesser speed. Right. And like I said, it absolutely has its maximums, and you have to be able to do it safely if you want to do it more than once. But if you're scaling your speed in a sparring scenario, right, you will develop and you'll start to speed up. And by the time it becomes an issue, that's when you really probably have a good idea of the habits that you need to be steering away from, and you're unlearning bad stuff, and you're moving towards where you want to be. By the time the safety becomes a real concern because you're coming up 30-40% speed, now we'll just switch out to headgear and padded sticks, right?
Yeah.
And then right?
A drill we use, you just reminded me, a drill we use to try to eliminate bad habits is sparring, but the total opposite. Rather than full contact sparring, we do what we call Tai Chi Sparring. Okay, sparring, but this is the speed.
Yeah.
Now, this is significant because your opponent is going to start a strike, and this is what people do. They because they're impatient, they meet out to block. What you're supposed to do is, the strike comes in, it's really hard to wait for it. Now you do the block.
Yeah.
Then you counter.
Right.
And you can do that with boxing as well. You find that I get my guys to box, and you find that they're meeting out to block rather than waiting for the strike to pat it down, and that really uncovers a lot of the bad habits.
Yeah,
so we do like Tai Chi Sparring.
Going back to the tape on the mirror, like the doorway thing, right?
Yeah.
When we practice like Estrella and other blocks and checks, that's part of it as well. Is if you start reaching when you say, okay, like inside Estrella, and you go, and your hand ends up outside of that tape on the mirror.
Yes.
That's a bad habit. We need to start pulling back, because you don't want your extension to match your opponent's extension. It's very, I saw a video actually on the FMA page today of somebody practicing this 2-on-1, right?
Yeah.
The 2-on-1 with a knife, and they end up 2-on-1, but they're out here.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, that's good. You're gonna pay. You're gonna pay for that.
Well, at the very least, even if you're not gonna pay for it, you're working real hard, right? But when you have that 2-on-1 within that range of where you want to be, right?
Elbows in,
right? And it's this economy of motion rectangle, right? Like this is your KI rectangle,
exactly.
And like, don't extend beyond that, because the extension you need to be making is this elliptical motion, right? where you're coming out and in,
Yes.
and out and in.
Yeah,
And it's not this big sweeping arc. It's like, you know, those arms on a train, like on the wheels on a train, how they, like on an
absolutely. Yeah.
Push forward and come back. And they push forward and they come back, but they only go up and down like a very, very small amount.
That's
right?
right.
That's what your arm motion should be looking like.
Good analogy.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah.
Guru Dax with the analogies. So, okay, next question. Do you think the concepts or how much importance do each of you put in the concepts of Prakshon and Unavagata? And if so, if they are in fact important to you guys, why? So who wants first last? Ooh,
I went first last.
All right. So Maestro Ray. So if they are important to you, so so the concepts of Prakshon and Unavagata, are they important to you to instill in your students? If so, why?
It's important in that it's just distance and timing. You know, Unavagata is just getting out of the way. And again, this is what we practice. We practice that the strikes come in and don't move until the last minute, and don't move. And that's where the Tai Chi Sparring comes in. You try to do this, and you just move back a little bit. In fact, I get my students to try to get the tip of their stick to brush so that you know where the distance is, you see. Although, Prakshon, it's just timing. If you can execute the techniques ad verbatim, but if you don't time it well, if your distance isn't wrong, it's not going to work. All right. So now what you have control with is your distance. So can you see me here?
Oh yeah.
Okay. When I get my students to strike, I get them to strike and see I can hit the wall. Then I move a bit further back. I can still hit the wall. I get them to strike until they're just brushing the wall. They're in full stretch, but they're just brushing the wall. Why do I do that? So they'll know what their maximum range is.
Oh, their maximum
range. I may not know your maximum range because I've only met you for the first time, but I know my range. So the centimeter you step into my range, I know I can hit you. So that's, again, so what Guru Dax said, distance, measure, distance, timing. In any technique, that's what's important. It doesn't matter what the name of the technique is. I see so many illustrismo practitioners practice at the wrong range. And if you practice at the wrong range, when it comes time to sparring, you'll be hitting them at the wrong range, you see. You got to know your range.
Well said. Well said. Guru Dax, same question.
Ask the question again, Dean.
Sure. So, do you think the concepts of Prakshon and Unavagata are important to you as far as instilling your students? If so, why?
Oh yeah. Again, so yeah, the timing, range, and rhythm are going to be that's what happens after you learn technique, right? It's incredibly important because until you put the time and effort and like you start to really develop that, you will only be a technical player, right? The problem with being a technical player, in my opinion, right, is as you get older, you get worse physically. As you get older, your body starts to fight back. You're not just fighting your opponent, you're fighting your body now too. Now, things like vision, timing, rhythm, and spatial awareness are things that don't leave you, right? Where like your vision might start to fail. I can appreciate that, but your sense of timing, your sense of rhythm, all of that stuff, and your knowledge of range, as far as where you are concerned, will stay for a much. I'm not saying it never leaves, but it stays for a much longer period,
as opposed to speed, power.
Your body will want to be on your side, right?
Okay.
So things like that are important because, like Master Raymond said, you don't ever get to determine what your opponent is or isn't capable of. You only get to understand and determine what you do. So if you know that you are going to fail on this, in this aspect, the technical aspect of your training, what do you need to so if you have never developed the timing, the rhythm, and the range, now you have fucking nothing. Why did you train for 20 years? Idiot. Go home. Right? So the thing is, you learn the technique and then you build with the other portions. And that way, when your body fights you, you still have at least 75% of your game that you still use. And I mean, look at Tatang. Look at how actionable he was until days. Yeah. Why the fuck do you think he
relied on
this when he was like the man was far beyond what in Canadian society what we would even consider mobile, right? Like people aren't mobile at that age, let alone running training groups at a public park in the sun.
And hitting people for his age.
Right. Hitting people for recreation. You know, like good for him. Good for him. Damn.
Jeez. Well said. Okay. Since they're both important to you, obviously, and this is where, and again, I'm not saying I only, I look and I see and I kind of draw a conclusion. I'm not saying my conclusions are always right. This is why I like to talk to guys like you. You can't really impart these principles without sparring, but yet if your groups are not sparring, there's really no way you're going about this.
You're not,
right? Maestro Ray, you want first crack at it?
Sparring to me is everything. Now with the sparring part, I learned that from Master Tupa. See, he just loves to spar, but there is not a lesson I do where there's no sparring. Everything is sparring. With my more experienced, advanced guy, the entire hour is sparring. Not bash him. Sparring. Then I say, okay, look, if you pull your elbow back here, or okay, your foot, try this, try that. So the whole hour is sparring, but the whole hour is tweaking as well. Then and what it is, there's themes. Okay, let's get this to work. Where you're doing this, you're going to engaño, you're going to go under his strike and go up and thrust. So now the opponent knows what you're going to do. So you have to do it well to deceive him. See, and many times I have two guys sparring and I can read them both, and I'll warn the other guy, okay, look, he's setting up for a thrust. Watch out for that. Okay. Oh, he's going to go for a leg shot next. So the thing is, even though I'm telling him what's happening, you have to make it convincing, you see. So, yes, I know. My opponent knows I'm going for a leg shot, but if I do an engaño really well, he's still going to fall for that. He's still going to open a leg shot. But you can't practice that without sparring. You can't practice your fakes without sparring, because what you're doing is you're selling the technique. You can do it in the mirror, but you got to sell it to the other guy. If the other guy doesn't fall for it, you're not doing the engaño right, you see.
And the thing is, when you describe the technique to a student that they're going to do, and the opponent understands it, this goes into the difference between a technical player and a rounded player. I can explain the technique to you all day long, but I can't describe to you any more than I can describe to the student my range, my timing, and my rhythm, right?
Yes.
So you can know the technique, but I can manipulate those other three things actively and still score the technique, right? That's one of the reasons that it's important to learn those three things.
Yeah, and then you do a sparring match where it's like pool, where you have to call out which pocket you're going to sink it. It's the same thing. With sparring, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to fake on your left and hit you on the right, or I'm going to fake low, go high before you do it.
Interesting. So, Guro Dak, same question.
about sparring.
Yeah.
I mean, sparring is incredibly important, and again, I think there's so many different types of sparring. Actually, a really interesting person
Correct.
to talk to about sparring is Rory Miller. He's developed just a bunch of different ways in his reality training self-defense programs that he has people spar, right? And it again, it makes it safe, but it develops different skills in different ways than just throw on a headgear, get a padded stick, and start fucking bashing. Right.
Yeah.
And, so and again, like it's like when you're doing jits, right? Like your sparring shouldn't just be you tapping somebody. Your sparring should be pointed to develop a skill. Right. And that will generally be facilitated by the type of sparring you're doing. Yeah. Sometimes you just want to get used to the environment of going all out against one another. And it is a great time for padded weapons and headgear, or, you know, whatever equipment you're using or not using. Sometimes at the same time, sometimes it's a good idea to just use like, I mean, you're not sparring with, you know, large sticks that are this diameter. You get the ones like Master Yuli uses, like those thin ones.
Yeah.
We're just gonna spar full speed with those, and it's gonna hurt like a bitch. But you're gonna recognize when you have these like zombie and these ghost techniques that you're like, meh, and you go running in, like you guys are talking about the hand sparring, and now we're gonna start to pare back on the bad habits with that. You know, sometimes we do it slower. Sometimes we do one-step sparring. Sometimes we do three-step, or we're moving simultaneously, and you change the parameters because. Like all of those things develop different skills, the soft skills, the important skills differently, you know? So it's incredibly important, but I do see a lot of schools that practice. I mean, you can practice Huba drills all day long. It don't mean you're going to be able to do shit about fuck when it happens.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. And like drill based, there's few things that bother me more than long-winded drill based classes, because I don't have the patience for them. Because I grew up bouncing in a biker bar. You know, from 18 years old, I was throwing down every night. That's just the way she was. And you learn that in reality, fighting doesn't happen in this vacuum. Things are never predictable. So when you practice these long sequences, you become reliant on long sequences, right? So this is where I really advocate for, you know what, we're going to train at these ranges. We're going to train using short motions. And what we're going to do in between is we're going to really note the positions that we end up in as soon as the drill's over. What positions do we end up in with our partners that we're training with? Because when you recognize those in the gym, those become actionable moments in a fight, in a real scenario. And you're not like, oh, fuck, where am I? Or what should I do next? Now you're in a position. And there's so little of what we do in FMA that mirrors that, right? But we see it all the time in things like wrestling, judo practice, and jiu-jitsu practice. So why wouldn't we take that and then apply that to what we're doing and apply that to how we train, right?
No. I mean, well said. Yeah. Okay. Both of you have trained with different masters in KI, and most notably in the Philippines. So what I'd like to do is just, it'd be quick, just, like far as GM Tony, GM Yuli, depending on who you guys actually did train with, just kind of, what was their influence on you, and what stood out or what takeaways from them. So Maestro Ray, so Tony, I mean, like what them, or what they tried to infuse in you, or that stood out?
Each one of them had a contribution which supplemented what the main theme of Illustration is. And here's the sad part: there shouldn't be any factions, because the way I saw it, it was all the one thing. But they had their own interpretations. Like I said, when we were learning in my grandmother's place, I would be feeding to Tatang, or somebody would be feeding, and then Tatang would be doing the techniques, and all four or five of them will be discussing it. And then when Tatang left, we'd be like, okay, he did this. And then Master Romy said, yes, but did you see him do that little twist? I said, oh yeah, that little twist made a huge difference. So not one person was the Illustrissimo person, all of them helped in interpreting what the true Illustrissimo was. And that was a shame, because when they were together, all unified, they really extrapolated the essence of Illustrissimo. But now there's all these factions. They've got this interpretation, this interpretation, this interpretation. There's no self-correcting, comparing notes, you see.
That's the goal of this. Hopefully, at the end, more start to work together and exchange. And I think
each of us has a piece of the puzzle. Each of us has a piece of the puzzle. You see, and it's not necessarily I've got the right piece. Maybe I'm doing this. It's like, oh, you know, I don't really like Pluma, freaking Pluma. A lot of people say, oh, you block here. How can you block there? No, Pluma is you block here, then you supplement, then you come through. It could be the piece of the puzzle I have is incorrect, and I'll need the other pieces to correct me. See, that's what we've lost with all these different factions.
I think that's terrible, because I think we could. Yeah, obviously, the more we work together, we're only going to improve each and one of us. And I mean, God knows, not every single person has the answers.
Not one.
Yeah. How about Guro Dax? Who did you spend time with over there?
I spent a little bit of time with Mang Yuli. Mang Topher, or sorry, not Mang Topher, Mang Tony, Mang Tommy. I spent a little bit of time doing some seminar stuff with Master Raymond in the Philippines, and he came here as well. Yeah, and again, like my primary instructor being Maestro Norman. I spent a bit of time with Maestro Arnold at Mang Tony's gym. Roberto Morales. You know, and I've met and done a little bit, like over the course of like it was like 1 or 2 days in Washington with he's not direct Illustrissimo, but Felix Valencia with Lameco.
Oh yeah, right.
Really cool guy. Really cool guy.
Yeah. Would you his training? I just want to piggyback off him because I have such appreciation for Lameco and what they, as far as what they instill, as far as the edge weapon side. How do you resonate? What'd you get from him, as far as like from the Lameco lens of KI?
You know, this is the thing, is I cannot honestly tell you what I got from each one of them. I can't.
Okay.
There was so much in what each of them didn't say, but how they did things. I would say that, because again, like learning from Maestro Norman is not a vocal instructor, right? Like he's not one of these guys who's going to overcorrect, and he's not one of these guys that's going to spoon feed you the linguistics of it over and over and over again. So I very much had to learn to watch and pick up the little details all over the place.
That's the Illustrissimo way.
Absolutely, it is, right? Like, yeah. Not only did my teacher not ever say a word, I didn't even hear him speak for 15 years. No, you know, but one of the best things that Norman gave me as an instructor, and I said this before, is the ability to learn that way, right? Because he would say, "Oh, do this," but he's doing like 3 things, right? Or he would do it like this. And I'd be like, okay. And when I first started, it was incredibly frustrating. But as I moved through different instructors and have met other instructors over the years, there is nothing better than the ability to watch what they're doing and not have to hear what they're saying. Because the reality is, again, every one of the core instructors calls techniques by different names. They will say things differently, but what they do is there's so much continuity between what they all do that if I'm worried about the linguistics of it, which is the low-hanging fruit in my opinion, because like we get so many guys in KI that are like, oh, you know how I know I do the real KI? Because I call this technique this. Fuck off. That's garbage, right? That's garbage. Your linguistics mean nothing to me, right? Your ability does. And I can watch people and I watch people and I build off of that. So the things I learned from Felix, from Tony, from Mang Tommy, from Mang Yuli, like Mang Yuli is such a cool cat to watch, right? It's like it's like watching water getting poured out of a fucking bucket. You're like, how? Like you can't really.
I still can't figure out how.
Dude, it's so cool. It is so cool, and I love it. I love how he.
No, I know.
But I couldn't tell you what I learned from each of them, because again, it's so much about what they weren't saying, but what they were doing. One of my, I would have to say my favorite of all of the guys aside from Mang Norman that I've trained with is Mang Tommy, because he is like the quintessential Illustrissimo. And again, if we're going back to is not incredibly wordy, but lets his actions speak, that's 100% who he is, right? He is an amazing instructor.
Why quintessential?
The way he moves, and the way that he ranges, and the way he does everything. Like, again, I have never seen the videos of younger Tatang doing anything. I've never seen those. But if I was to take any of the guys that I've trained with and say that guy is probably the closest to Tatang in application, I would say it's Tommy. And I couldn't say why, but I'm gonna probably piss some people off here, but I'm gonna venture a guess that because all of the core students under Tatang had a previous lens that they filtered everything through.
Correct.
Right? I'm going to not make a statement, but a supposition that it's quite possible that the second generation students, the ones of those instructors, are the ones who've come in with a clean slate, are likely to be more parallel to Illustrissimo in their application of things, because they don't have this divergent language.
They didn't have Bolento Arc or whatever it may be they had coming in.
Right. And that doesn't take anything away from the first generation instructors, because we've all come from them, right? So but it does lend some credence to the fact that all of those instructors were able to take what Tatang did and filter it through, right? But I'll say in physical application, I don't see as much of Tatang in most of them, not all of them, in most of them, as I do in Tommy.
Yeah, I mean, it's
but again, that's just a supposition and a theory. I don't actually know.
Yeah,
probably pissed a bunch of people off right there.
No, I think I presented it well. I mean,
who cares?
I mean, I've seen some. I've been privy to, see some really early videos. Like I would guess like early '80s of Illustrissimo, and the way he was moving, comparatively speaking, to what's generally on YouTube now.
Yeah,
late '90s. It's just incredible the difference of that age, how he was moving and all that.
And I think even that factors into what we're seeing right now as well, as far as like the first generation students are getting to that stage in life now. Like if you trained with Tatang, for the most part, you're getting up there in years now.
Oh my gosh.
Your body's starting to fight against you. Mr. Raymond.
Here. My non-tell strikes are telling now.
Jeez. Okay, guys, I got a doozy for you. Okay, whoever wants to take a crack at this. If you kind of bow down and hide your head, I don't blame you. The mystique of KI, or what people think of KI, mystique and all that, negative or positive for the art? And is the mystique being used or manipulated for gains?
Fuck yeah, it is.
Let's hear it.
Oh my god. Okay.
To me, there's no mystique. Okay,
no.
I can take any system, including karate, including kung fu, and make it look like Illustrissimo. It's overrated. Okay, there is no mistake. Registrissimo is just like another Filipino martial arts systems with certain things different. It's tighter, more efficient. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Whereas you see people doing this, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas you see people doing that, we're just here. And you know, I've got the angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4, angle 5, angle 6. We've got it all. So, and this is why I do a lot of seminars. I show people, and you know, if I do a seminar with, say, Wing Chun students, I can show them how these strikes are just like chain punching. You see, if I do karate, these strikes are just like their thing. And you know what? That's what it is, really. What it's not is this.
Yeah.
So what it's not is the sticks going back like that. The sticks are always in front. Just taking just taking key principles, you can make anything look like illustration.
No. But
the
do you think it's hurting? Do you think it's hurting us?
I think so.
Okay. I think that the mystique bullshit is absolutely hurting KI, because the people, in my opinion, fight me, that want to sell the mystique of it are selling snake oil. Okay. KI is not
and
a
the mystique causes politics.
It's a very rudimentary, fundamental system that relies on a series of skills that are not easily transmissible. Okay, that is not mystical. That requires dedication, practice, and the ability to ask questions when you need. But if you are going to sell mystique and some fucking bullshit superpower, you are a liar. You're full of crap. And you're doing this to set yourself apart, and you're not allowing your ability to do that. Your ability as an instructor, your ability to put it into
and the mystique promotes politics. That's what I don't like about the mystique. It promotes politics.
Right. We have this, and nobody else has this. We do this, and nobody else has this. Nobody had access to this series of instruction from Tatang. Motherfucker, Tatang didn't explain anything at length to anybody, right? At best, you would get that in-depth explanation over a long timeline. And that's coming from somebody who never met the man, okay? But I've spoken to so many of the first generation instructors, and they all say the same thing. So you're not going to convince me that he showed you something.
No, everybody's saying the same thing. He didn't, right. That's consistent.
And the thing is, like Master Raymond said, if Tatang was the center, and each one of the first generation students stood at a different area, each one gets a different perspective. And the fact that this factionalism that's happening is making it so people aren't allowed to ask questions of the people with the greatest amount of experience. Garbage.
Good point.
And that is what's going to kill KI. The problem being, KI will die with the individuals who are insistent on it being this way. Right. And that's what's going to undo what could be the greatest, I'm not going to say the greatest, it's the greatest system in FMA. Right.
No argument from me.
Yeah. And it's just individuals' egos that are going to allow that to happen. Right.
Wow. That was
the one thing about the first generation masters, the one thing about them, they were completely generous about their knowledge and imparting it. They never held back anything. They will answer any questions. I mean, you know, it's a real shame. Like I love Guru Daniel Nasanto, and I've had some one-on-one time with him. Most knowledgeable guy, most generous guy ever. But the people around him forms this like cocoon. And you just can't get near him. You know, it's like. And that's what they're trying to do with us Trissima now. Like, we're so special, you have to be part of the secret brotherhood to learn the secrets. I was like, there's no secrets.
Yeah, you know what, secrets. I think more people are getting smarter. I really do. I think people via this, I just think people as a whole are are some, those who are trying to sell the mystique or hide behind it or use it as a platform to get students or notoriety. I think it's going to come back to bite them. I really do.
And the thing is, I don't think it'll come back to bite them. I think it'll come back to bite their students, right?
Or them.
Because when you isolate your students in a system that's broken into factions and nobody's allowed to compare notes, like Master Raymond here said, you do such a huge disservice. I mean,
disservice.
Absolutely.
Terrible.
And this is one of the things that I talked about, like either last time or some other time. I don't fucking know. But when I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, if you didn't learn from the old man, you can't say you teach Illustrissimo." And I'm like, so wait a minute. You are teaching your students who have never met the old man, and you're teaching them. But then when you're gone, Illustrissimo ceases to exist because they never met him. If there is not some dumber bullshit out there, I mean, it's one of those things. Like when you meet people like that, the bar is so low, but they insist on bringing a shovel to fuck it up even more, right?
It's that too. Or you know what annoys me? You know what annoys me in this, and this is why I'm doing this, because I am gonna have like a last part of this where somebody's and I'm gonna give my conclusion of this whole series.
Are you gonna reveal some secrets?
I think so.
Super secrets, cool. Go on.
But one of the things that is that, like, well, you can only get true KI from those guys or those guys, and I'm like, well, first of all, let's define what true KI is. Okay. Secondly, the moment that it left Illustrissimo's hands, it wasn't true anymore.
Right.
Thirdly, who's to say that based on who they are or where they are that they have that stuff just drives me nuts. It's just,
well, and going back to what I said before, if you have four key elements of KI: technique, rhythm, timing, and ranging.
Yeah.
If you teach KI technique, it'll look like KI. If you develop the other 75%, it doesn't matter what you do with it, you'll do okay. So that's the thing. If Tatang couldn't impart those three things clearly to all of his students, you can't expect all of those students to impart it onto their students either.
No, 100%.
It can be developed on a personal level, and that's it. That's it. It can be improved through communication, but that's about it. So the thing is, if you have this super secret technique, you know what that's not? That's not any of these three not transferable skills.
Not transferable, right.
Right.
There you go. Well said. Oh, gosh.
Snake oil.
Snake oil. All right, here's another one. You guys ready? Again, if you want to bow out.
No, give me more. I want everybody to be on fire after this.
Okay.
It'd be great.
Okay, just from doing these, reading about them, doing these interviews, talking to folks. I understand there's 5 pillars. However, I think there could have been more. I think maybe there shouldn't have been any pillars, but I understand it being kind of promotional, bringing KI to the forefront. Could have been self-serving. Okay, we're not going to rule that out.
Could have been what?
Self-serving.
Oh,
What does it? Do you guys? Does it? And you guys kind of already touched on this. How impactful has it been to KI, far as unity, growth, and how detrimental? Is there any positive to the pillars?
I would call it harmful more than anything. If you want to just like take impactful and just switch that with harmful, we could do that, right? Because I mean, you can say like. I use the terms first generation, second generation students, right? And further down the line, because again, the closer you are to the headwaters, the closer you are to the headwaters, right? That's just the way it is, right? The cleaner it is directly from the source, right? But to say that using the term pillars is indicative of these individuals propping up KI. You know who propped up KI? Master Illustrissimo. Okay, this is who he was. Nobody else gets shit. Nobody else gets shit because you're not him. You don't get to say that you were the closest to him. You don't get to say that you learned the most from him. You don't get to say that you got super, super, super duper extra super secret squirrel shit from him. You are not him. You can keep teaching and be great at teaching. You can keep practicing and be great at practicing. But unless you are that man, that old man, you are not a fucking pillar. You are one of his students, and you owe a certain amount of respect to him by allowing him to be who he was without trying to take away from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Fire. That was fire. Maestro Ray, you might.
To me, the term
you might be hard to match that.
Pillars are the worst. The worst thing ever coined.
Yeah.
Ever. In any set. That's the worst thing that ever happened with those.
It left people out. That's what I feel bad about. Like Maestro Norman, like I'm so fond of your teacher, Dax. Like what? He just didn't matter?
Well, that's
look at Romy Macapagao. Romy Macapagao was right there. He's the archivist. He wrote
absolutely
right.
Yeah.
Not a mention. I mean,
Norman.
He knows it was Trish.
No.
Him
as well.
But Norman's not one of these people with a personality that's going to be like, oh, you need to name me as one of the pillars. He's going to be
no.
Have your stupid club. I'll be over here doing my thing, right?
Yeah.
And like,
see, like Master Yuli Rama, he would never call himself a pillar.
No,
he would never claim that. He was just dragged into it.
No, I know.
I think by that point in time, Master Yuli had probably had so much success with students that they couldn't not name him as a pillar, right? So he was just like, I guess. Yeah, like he didn't have anything to lose by it, but he didn't name himself.
Why just 5? Why not 6? Why not 7? Why not 8? Why
just
5?
That's what I mean. Like, there's two sides of the argument for me, as far as the pillars go. Why was it just 5? I can think of right off the bat 2 names I just mentioned here that should have been added to that.
Absolutely.
Or why have it at all? You know.
I think it's the worst thing. I think it's the worst thing that's ever happened. Like,
and I think a lot of martial arts experience things like this in the initial iterations after the founder of a system passes, right? We see this with Shotokan karate. We see this with Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We see this with Kyokushin karate. It's such a common thing. But at a certain point, we can step back and say, we don't have to keep doing this. We can recognize it for I mean, there is so much toxic training bullshit that happens in martial arts in general that the sooner we start recognizing these behaviors and say, you know what, this is what happened. We don't need to fault anybody for it, but we can now evolve beyond it, okay, without caring. My instructor's one of the pillars. Like, suck a dick. I don't care. Fight me. You know, it's just one of those things, right? We can just get past it.
FMA discussion went from G-rated to R in one episode.
Just saying. I mean, you might want to bleep that one out, but I mean, you probably don't. You probably don't. I mean, he doesn't bring me on to be decent, a decent, calm gentleman.
I think it's funny. We just went from a G rating to. In conclusion, I totally agree. Obviously they're not going to be undone. I think just from reading, talking to, Mark Wiley, you guys, other folks, it just seems it's divisive. It's caused division. It's caused people to feel left out. That should perhaps been inclusive.
Correct.
The moment you do that, you are creating little entities.
And it goes back to what I said before about when people use linguistics as the crowning glory of their martial system or what they're learning or what they're teaching. It's like, your words don't hurt me, right? Words are weapons, but weapons are also weapons. So let's just deal like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And like using whether it's terminology within a system or whether it's the terminology of the instructors of the system, it doesn't actually matter. What matters is that we are all allowed to succeed at the rate to succeed to the rate of our ability, right? And if there's any matter of linguistics that impedes that is inherently incorrect.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I just think, I don't know. Do we get rid of them, or I don't think we can.
I can't say anything nice about it, so I'm keeping quiet.
No. The thing is, too, is I agree. It's like Rico just said. Like I feel bad for the people that really had an impact. Like I look at Maestro Norman, man. He went to Canada and started teaching it
Yeah.
like first. And now he's
quarter
just like,
century ago.
I know. And he's just like, and then, you know, obviously GM Romeo. I mean, like those two obviously
Yeah,
had
exactly.
contribution. So I
You know,
think,
Absolutely.
and like I said the other day, I was so happy to read Master Romeo's book, because like it was, there was so much validation within that, because there's certain things that, like, I mean, videos that haven't of Tatang that aren't available to the public. There's details, there's all this stuff, but Master Romeo is able to put into words things that the other instructors haven't, right? Or don't. Or
it is so well researched, you know.
And that's it. But like,
well researched.
And there's so much of this that, again, as like, I don't speak any language that is spoken on the islands with the exception of English, right? Yeah. So I feel like there's this massive potential for things to be lost in translation. But when you have Master Romeo's book, because he has such good command of the English language, not that is any sort of pinnacle, but it makes things easier for me as an individual.
And for him to relay to the Western,
so much.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, and I agree. And I think, you know, I guess hopefully more videos will come out from the Ricketts Library than
what's that
book. So hopefully more videos will leak out from the Ricketts Library.
Yeah, and I mean,
we got Romeo's book, and we can kind of, because it's going to help. You know, here's the thing.
Exactly.
It's going to help. It's only going to.
It gets better. It's only going to get better. That's it, right? And even the fact that you're facilitating this discussion is like, it's this uncomfortable point in the evolution of the system that you're forcing on us, Dean, which is nice. Thank you. You know, but we can't not evolve from here.
But here's the thing, though, if we don't bring it up, if it's not talked about, how do we fix it?
Right, but once it's spoken, it can't be unspoken, right? And again, there's all these things that are coming out, like Master Romeo's book was the single greatest thing, I think, to happen to KI in recent years.
Correct.
Because it makes everything flat out. Everybody has the same accessibility to it now, and you can't deny that, right? And I think
right. It's the written video, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
And what I like about that book is he wasn't blowing smoke up his ass. If that book came out without an author, you wouldn't know who wrote it. You know, he wasn't pushing his own agenda. It was just
an accurate
record of his research. That's it. There was no politics in it, you know.
And that's one of the things that I appreciated so much about it, is it was so, like, because I don't know what his relationship is to any of the other kind of first gen instructors. I'm not aware of that, but
he's one of the first gen.
I know he's one of the first gens, but I mean, I don't know his relationship to the rest of them. But I was so impressed with his unbiased presentation of it, right?
Yes.
Not, oh, you need to do this and you need to do this, and like this is the place to look and this is wrong, and like there's none of that. It's just, this is KI presented. Right, like he did such a service to Grandmaster Sumo by presenting it the way that he did. Not even just that he did it, the way he did
on him. You know, it's one of the, matter of fact, I'm waiting for things to slow down because I have the book. Just trying to get time to sit down and, like, I know it's like fucking, because I mean I've heard nothing but accolades and fantastic things about it. You know, and actually I got tonight when things slow down, the videos from you to parallel the book, you know? So what do we do to move? All right, so move that. I mean, whoever wants to tackle this first, because I got past the two ugly ones, which you guys handled well. What do we do to move forward from this kind of sanctioned head, fist bumping?
You're doing it already, Dean. You're doing. I think what you're doing with all the representatives of KI is what should be done, because nobody's talking to anyone, but talking through you as the mediator. Everyone has an equal voice. That's the thing. Everyone.
Look what you did.
See?
Look what you did.
I used to be the black sheep of KI. I
would not want to be in Guru Jackson's class.
He's got nothing to say.
Love it. But again, I think as time progresses, I think a really important thing that should happen now is I think the support to support helpfully in a couple of different ways. When you see people releasing videos online, don't shit on them.
Yeah.
If it's not the way that you train, that's not what you call it. Stop shitting on people online. Like,
absolutely.
Right? But if you're going to just talk shit online, like, just go home. Like, nobody cares, right? This is 2022.
Support it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you can support KI, you don't have to like the instructor. You don't have to like how they do things, but you can support KI by not being that douchebag.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Other things like seminar series. You know what? If you have students that are willing to throw a couple of bucks into a big seminar, maybe think about bringing somebody. And then as another instructor, maybe think about not trying to take all of that money, right? Maybe making this about KI, understanding that everybody has their costs and stuff.
Sure.
But to understand that we need to work together both in ideology and financially when it comes to things like seminars and traveling and all the rest of it that can then bring these divergent opinions.
Wouldn't it be wonderful? And one of the thoughts I have is like, I might as well release the thought now. Is I want to plan. I think
things like this never used to happen because we never had the technology. Like even
no. But what I'm thinking is like geographically
this is technology
speaking,
we've just had recently.
Yeah. No, for sure. We could definitely do it online, but like I'm thinking like North America, like bring just like I would tackle it first with North American KI instructors. Like a mutual city or a city where they're in, like it could be Guru Dax, Guru Vico, Guru Brands moving back in the summer. I mean, how neat would that be? Like having like 3 guys like that in the same room teaching.
It would be great.
That would be like, man, that would be like, and then if it went well, then maybe look at it international lens. But
you know what?
Start somewhere.
And realistically, if I'm going to fly to Toronto to teach a seminar, it costs me like $500 more to fly to London to teach a seminar. And it costs me the same amount more to fly to Bangkok to teach a seminar. It makes no difference to me. Right. Yeah. And the thing is like, it's good to get like, I think that like a water and steel kind of concept like Kelly has for NSI, like that's accessible, right? And you see guys like Kelly's done it for years, right? You have there's another one in the Toronto area for I think Krav Maga that used to happen at the very least and happened for years. Like that's something that we could all get together and do.
That's what I mean. This is not out of the realm. You know what I mean? This is not impossible. You know what I mean?
But the big question is like, where do we start? Right.
I'm gonna attempt to start it like this summer. And James Lynn, Dim Pranko, the CEO of FMA.
That's right, Dim Pranko.
It's got to be Dim, DIM.
Dim Pranko, the CEO of FMA.
Oh lordy, yeah, yay me. Okay, so all right, so okay, here's okay, all right, okay. Advice for a enthusiast, regardless of what background they might have and all that, who wants to train KI, as far as resources, approach, teachers, and etc. What advice would you have to give them, each of you? Maestro, you want to start first?
If I can plug my videos, that's probably a good start.
Okay.
I've got an online training video called The Essential Calis Illustrissimo. What I've done there is I've broken up the Illustrissimo system, found the essential principles, and kind of summarized it into 7 core moves, and I build up from there. If you haven't done anything, that's a good place to start if I'm allowed to plug my videos.
Yeah. No, of course. Guru Dax?
I think, again, I like, with the exception of Mang Raymond's videos, there's not a lot of what I would call like great kind of all-encompassing online resources. That's something that I've been thinking about doing as well, is putting together like an online fundamental series. Yeah. And I talked to Paulo a little bit about that, and it's something I'd really like to do here moving forward. Maybe one of the things that we might want to look at is starting like a central website that we could all have like a central landing page, and then divergent pages that we each kind of, not just, but like content, you know what I mean? So it's not just opinions and forums and bullshit.
Yeah.
But like we could all work together at something like that and contribute to something like that to whatever degree we're capable, right? Because some people like, I have a hard time with online stuff, but at the same time, you know, I can pay other people to put the stuff that I want online for me, because that's, I mean, that's a contribution that I'd be willing to take part in. And it also helps people that are active within it and people that are active within it hold one another accountable and compare notes. But also it provides for people that want to start. You know what? You might like Master Raymond's.
Well, they have this great resource.
Yeah, right. You might want to look at Master Raymond's system as your foundation, and then maybe you want to look at my system as another foundation, because again, different pieces of the same puzzle, right?
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. You know? Yeah.
I mean,
the more
would bring everybody, right?
The core guys, because like you get guys like, if you can get like these people contributing to it, right? Like the first gen students and their students contributing to it, we could create. And the thing is, again, a lot of people do this for a living, and I can appreciate that. You can't expect people to give it away when they do it for a living.
No, right? Nor should they.
But maybe there are paywalls to individuals or this or that, because the thing is, you know what?
Yes.
If some of us just give it away, if some of us, I mean, maybe we give away certain stuff and then it comes to a paywall, whatever, like that's kind of the business aspect of it. But it's important to talk about frankly, right? So it's in the front.
Yeah.
Nobody's taking.
I think that's
why is this guy trying to take a bigger slice, or like we need to be reasonable with one another with that kind of thing. But I think that would be a good resource and a good step to move forward, and especially leading up to a larger seminar, like where a number of us would show up at the same location to teach.
Man, how neat would that be? Like, I'm gonna try to. I'm really like this summer. Like
totally.
I'm definitely want to like. I thought, and again, just to see how it worked, just for starts, like focus like North America. So obviously, when you think about North America, obviously you in Canada, what sticks out, Master Tom, and I think he's just tough to get a hold of, man. Without you have to kind of go through Kenneth Cole.
Kenneth is like his guy.
Yeah,
and he'll help with that. And I mean, even talk to him, talk to Louis Lindo, those cats.
That's
like, they're all kind of the same group and affiliated with each other. And they're so. I mean, God, Kenneth is such a good cat. Like,
no, he's always been incredibly nice.
And it's funny because I think some people might get the impression that Master Tommy's a little bit hard to reach. But or hard to get to train with, but he's not. He's absolutely not. He's so welcoming in every way, and that whole group is. But it's just a matter of like, they're not. If you Google search like KI, they will never be the first group that pops up because they're about training. They're not
definitely
selling the training. And I have.
How far are you away from them?
What's that?
How far are you away from them?
It's like an 8-hour drive or a 1-hour flight kind of thing. It's not too far.
Do you feel like driving 8 hours, or do you want to fly an hour?
What's that?
So do you want to drive 8 hours, or do you want to fly an hour?
I mean, the scenery's great, and I mean, if you just want to like get away from everything, it's a really good way to do it. It's just far enough away that I don't actually get the chance to go out there more than like every couple of years, but. That's also my fault. I mean, life and all the rest of it. I haven't made the extra effort. I'll take that.
It's hard, man, with everything going on sometimes. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. Your approach. So, same question to you, Maestro Ray. You kind of said with your videos. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, look, there's online lessons, which is not ideal, but I've been teaching a couple of people in the US, and it's actually turning out really well. It's really hard to find a good KI representative in places. See, there's
not a dime a dozen, right?
And I think,
Yeah, I think.
but I think these conversations that we're having and this whole situation, this forced evolution via CEO Dimprenko is, I think that is going to do that because there's going to be enough online content now on KI that people are going to be able to say, that's a guy that I can learn with, or that's a guy that I like or respect. I mean, some people won't want to train with me because I use the fuck word all the time, right? And it bugs people. And I don't care, fight me. But, but I mean, the way that I teach and the way that I speak isn't for everybody, right? And the thing is, some people are going to look at Master Raymond and think the same thing, right? But
Yeah.
the content is now going to be online that people can start to relate to whoever their teacher, whatever teacher they want, and they can address them directly.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic.
You know what I wish, what I would like to see is Guru Brendan to package the home videos and sell it.
Oh my God!
I can tell you right now.
Not gonna happen.
I've got my home videos. I've got.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I've got
I'm telling you right now, like status
9
quo.
hours of my training.
Yeah.
With Tony and all that.
Yeah.
But I think I can get that copied, send it to you. I don't mind.
Oh my gosh! I mean, that would be absolutely wonderful.
Do you have any videos on those home videos?
I'm sorry.
Any
videos of
Dean? Do you have any copies of those videos that Master Tupa took?
I only got like small clips. What he does is when I meet with Brandon, he'll show me all that. There's a reluctancy of the family to just like out there just.
Oh really? Okay. No, I'll try to get I'll try to get copies of mine. I think it's about 9 hours of footage of me just private training. I'll try to get copies and send it out.
If you did
that, God, you let me know. I would have to throw you some bucks for that, man.
Holy shit! Yeah, totally, absolutely.
I don't expect you to do that. Yeah, you let me know. I mean, I would definitely. You deserve to be compensated for that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And
all right, that's fine. I mean,
I wouldn't.
I've got nothing to hide.
No, and it's and I brought this up on a couple of online forums years ago when Master Topher was still alive. And basically I was told that it's basically considered the same as asking somebody to share their family Christmas videos, which I don't agree with, but at the same time they're not my videos to determine that, right? So Brandon could write his own ticket on this one. If he released a large collection, it's like, man, you tell me what you want and you'll get it.
Yeah.
But I also respect the family's reluctance to do that because those are like, I don't know. It's like you don't like take your family Fabergé egg and like put it in your.
It's just, what's the use of it? What's the use of knowledge shared is power? It's like what's the use of it gathering dust in a.
And like I said, I don't have to agree with it, but I respect it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's his to determine, and that's I mean, realistically, also that's like an heirloom. That's his birthright, right?
Here's the thing too. Like I'm not claiming to know the whole thing behind that. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think it's also like a family decision. Like I don't think it's just.
No, I can't. That would just be him. But,
it's theirs. It's not for us to say what to do with it.
But it's
just a shame. It's just a shame.
It's crazy. It's just that. I mean, and I've just seen. I mean, like parts of it. I'm not claiming to.
You've probably seen more than I have ever seen in my 20 plus years of training.
I mean, what I've seen, I have to be honest, it's just like the one that really stands out was seeing. Giamilissimo in the early 80s move and the contrast to like 14 years or like 12 years later. It just like it was just it was mind blowing just the difference of his mobility. It just was like, wow, holy crap.
And, like that's so neat. And the thing is, again, I can only imagine what that would be like. And I mean, honestly, this is why I say Master Tom is that, I mean, I would bet that the way that he does and the way that he moves and the way that he applies that's what speaks to me is that, you know, and I would love to see younger Master Illustrissimo move just to see what it was like closer to his prime. Because what was available are like
frightening.
Right, like how old was he in the Lionheart videos? Right?
That I'm not
like
those came out like what, circa late 80s, early 90s?
I don't know. He was old, man.
Yeah.
Like he
circa
was
late 80s, right?
Yeah. I mean, those videos are taken 87, 88, 89.
Yeah, so he was, so the ones I'm referencing was like really early 80s, and you could just, I mean,
well, yeah, I mean,
just like
5-10 years difference. Like that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. I mean, the way he was, it was just amazing. Richard Peck, any KI directly around? Currently, Richard, I don't think so, but don't.
People are in discussions to build a central website, though. Just wait.
Yeah. So here, let me see here. So what do you guys? Okay, so what do you guys hope for this upon conclusion of this series, as far as working together, all that? Like, I mean, like in other words, when I conclude this series, I mean, what do you guys hope for? You know, you don't have to hope for anything, but like, what do you hope for? Like maybe working together with somebody.
I like that I'm even able to like, because like I've heard of Master Raymond through my Norman a number of times over the years, but I've never spoken to him. There's never been an avenue to do that, right? So I mean, things like this are really good because it's a good foundation to go from, right?
Yeah.
You know, and like more of this.
To me, there's a lot of, for personally, for reasons I don't know why, there's a lot of bad blood.
Yeah.
There's no need for that. You know, people have died, people have moved on. I mean, why? You know,
but I think again, addressing the right and wrong, right? Like there's for so long been this attitude of this is right and that's not, what I do is right, what that person does isn't, you know. But like we're again, you can't put those words away when we talk about the fact that there likely isn't a right way to do it. There's a person's way that they do it, and they need to be able to compare to the other people. And again, this is where, I mean, maybe that central
roundtable to say, I think it could be such just a monumental benefit. The more of us that get around with each other to compare stuff, I think it's just going to make the system just that much better. Like for people,
I totally agree.
I don't understand
totally
that, like, you know.
Yeah, and that's how it was in the old days. People just, like with the masters, they just talk about what they got out of the training and what they think or what their experiences is, and that, oh, you know, that thing we were doing, that was incorrect. It was supposed to be like this, and we all grew as one unit, one family. But
right, but I mean, once that toxicity exists within an organization, it's like a cancer, right? And I mean, we just all these parts of it just got cut apart, and now everybody's kind of scattered to the winds. But
no, I know.
But again, we're at a place now where we're addressing it, and that gives us the ability to move forward.
Here's the thing, and that's the start, because from like
absolutely.
Look at this,
you know, like again, like if we did a North America thing, you know, I would say we do it in Toronto or we do it in Vancouver, because again, like from a lot of like those are both central airports. Right. So if we did it in Vancouver, we could likely involve Tommy. If we did it in Toronto, I don't know if he would be receptive to it as much.
Right.
Because I mean, he's got other stuff going on. Right.
What's going on in Canada? Do you have to be vaccinated to leave or enter? Like, in other words,
I don't really even know right now. We're kind of under this weird state of martial law at the moment.
Hey, man, I read what's going on with Trudeau, man.
Oh God, dude! Like, I mean. I'm just gonna say, like he's acting so much like his father Fidel Castro right now with being this communist dictator. It's really weird. It's really weird and really uncomfortable. And I really just want to get the fuck out of here. You know, my friends and I were talking about this the other day. My buddy in Texas, he's like, dude, you got to get down here. I'm like, you know, it's so strange that as a North American man of African descent, I'm now heading to the South for some degree of safety and security. Weird, you know? Like, it is just so uncomfortable. Like, they've seized bank accounts. They're changing information.
No, it's right. My wife was telling me this. And I'm like, and I didn't believe her at first.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like
trying to,
it's impossible. They can't be doing that.
No, they're literally trying to change the rules regarding things like donations to causes, because like this whole trucker convoy, they're basically saying if you donated a 20 to the trucker convoy, you have supported what is effectively like a terrorist organization, right?
You believe how they could shift that,
right? And it's like, how
no,
do you, like,
you're the freaking terrorist.
These motherfuckers had a hot tub in the middle of the road during their protest. Okay, that is not quite the same, but I mean, this whole Trudeau government, like, it's really weird because they've done lots of stuff in the last years for regarding gun control as well.
Yeah,
and the way that the Emergencies Act reads in regards to requirement of things like warrants and the like, this massive extension that they could then realistically fold into things like gun control, right? In the short term, it's really weird, really uncomfortable. And again, very, very similar to the lead up to the in the German situation during World War II.
Yeah, I just think it's I know, not to get off tangent, but
it's
what I'm reading though. That's just
get me out of here, man. Get me out of here.
Well, you know what you do is to get you out. I mean, like one of the thoughts, and again, I don't care where it's held. I mean, I was just thinking out loud, basically, on paper. Yeah. Was kind of just thinking, what would be a good central point where everybody could kind of, fly into whatever. And Midwest, I don't know what would be there. Who would be there?
I mean, we can deal with the who later, but I mean, the where, I think, is very much going to dictate the who.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I mean, I do think it's important for it to be somewhere near like a really central airport.
No, I agree.
Like if Master Raymond wanted to come here, Master Raymond doesn't want to go to Toronto, Australia. What's that?
I'm a leprechaun. Us Americans being warned not to go to Australia or something like that.
But I mean, that's a terrible flight, right? Like Master Raymond won't want to fly to Toronto from Australia.
Long way. See, I go to the US more, but the airfares are around $3,000. It's like, that's my profit.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of it, right? So like if we can minimize costs and get people together, like that's kind of
exactly.
And again, like that, I've made that Vancouver to Sydney flight before. It is awful. It's like 16 hours in the air.
Yes. I couldn't. I tell you right now, man, right? I would be stir crazy.
Can you imagine getting off and having like a short layover to get on another flight to Toronto after that? Hard no. Hard no.
Gosh. Well, yeah, we're definitely that's something I want to get going. This North American KI.
Yeah.
The name I came up, just for a lack of a better name, somebody could probably come up with something better.
Something catchy?
North American KI Tour, but I'm sure somebody can come up with something better. And that was just off the top of my head.
No. But I mean, it's like good to lay the groundwork and kind of have the idea. And I mean,
no, I definitely wanted you inclusive, whoever.
I wonder who do we have within the organization that just teaches? Because I know you did that thing the other day with that Paulo did with Tim Hartman, I think.
Correct.
Right. Tim Hartman runs like exclusively a modern Arnis school, right?
Correct.
I don't know how many KI schools there are, but yeah.
I don't know. Well, no, I mean, you guys had,
but I mean, we're not central and we are not big enough.
No, I think currently, and I could be wrong. I'm going to venture to say 0.
Okay, but I mean, again, if we can do a multi-day and then get like a decent setup as far as like lodging and all the rest of it, and then keep those costs low, just so that way people can be remunerated to the greatest extent for their airfare and lodging. Because I don't want to go somewhere that I have to pay $3,000 to go and teach, right?
No, that's unrealistic.
But we can totally make stuff work. And again, if we look at different economies, different parts of the world, we have to factor in flight times, all the rest of it. But
I definitely want. I mean, I'm going to take a crack at it, try to make it happen. Somebody's got to do something. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But guys, this has been absolutely wonderful. I really appreciate you both coming on. I
Sorry, thanks for having us.
enjoyed this episode, and I loved Guro Dax's antics.
Just talking shit about everybody without them knowing who I'm talking shit about. But they know. They know. Fight me.
It's done with love. Done with love.
Right?
Yeah, you just be imagining his class. What the fuck? What are you doing? I didn't mean
it. I'm sorry. I tried my best.
I did try my best just because I crossed midline. Why are you yelling at me?
Oh man, people love being called out online. It's fine, you know. But
no, that's funny.
We yeah, I don't know. I think moving forward, like we'll talk more about this, and like you said, in the summer. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I don't, because you guys know by me now. Like, I'm not just a talker. I'm gonna put things like I'm gonna make it happen. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, oftentimes I think, you know, and another option for this as well to think about is to think about doing it at talking to a resort, right?
Yeah.
Like if we looked at like a Mexican resort to do something like this.
Oh my God, how much fun would that be?
Well, that's it, right? Like you spend $1,000 for a week all inclusive at a Mexican resort, right? Or $2,000. So you have airfare, lodging, all that shit worked in. We just have to talk to, because I mean we could set it up effectively the same as a wedding, right?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Right? Like we could do something like that, so people can then. I mean, because those places are built to be cost effective.
Right, and for the man. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Yeah, we should. Yeah, we're gonna make this happen. One way or another.
Yeah, that would that just kind of fly, but I bet you that would work. I bet you we could do that.
I think so.
Yeah.
But
and then people could bring their families or whatever, and then
that's what I mean. They could kind of make it / a vacation.
Yeah, and I mean, oftentimes, you know, family dynamics, like it's hard for people to get away from their
but hey, you know, I got
spouse and children, but it's the annual vacation.
You guys could come and you guys can hang by the pool.
Yeah, and you know who doesn't require proof of any sort of medical anything ever? Mexico.
There you go. Come here and spend your money.
Winning. Right.
All right, guys, this has been fun. I'm gonna download this and definitely put it on your guys' wall as well. Share it with you guys. But I want to thank you both for coming on. I thoroughly enjoyed
this.
You.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Dean.
Pleasure.
All right, we'll be in touch one way or another. For I got those videos from you, and then I'll be in touch with. Dax here. yeah.
You send those videos my way to Master Ray and tell me how many dollars you want, because
seriously,
worth it.
Like how
gold
much
mine.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I insist on paying you, so whatever you want, let me know. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
All right, you guys take care. It was a pleasure.
You as well. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. All right.
Bye, everyone.
No more swearing.
No more swearing. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. God.
All right, that concludes part 4. Who's next? Saturday, have to cover Underneath, Triple Threat, Connecticut. Tim Hartman, Ty Bonton, and Frank Tchaikovsky. Yeah. As far as KI part 5, I think I gotta work that out, but I think got a few ideas. Sean Zerger, Carlos Brothers, I think, who are left. I think I have to go through that. But anyway, thank you for jumping in, watching. If you have not already, please subscribe to FMA Discussion on YouTube, or all the monies that we receive go to charity. All right, folks. See you next time.